Thank you for joining us. Before we get started on today's episode, just a quick reminder to please smash the like button in the bottom right corner and subscribe to Locked On Senators so you can be the first to know when new content arrives. The best way to help us grow is to comment on the video as well. So let us know if this is a player you want the Sens to draft or you think they should stay away from, and let us know why as well. This is one of 64 draft profiles that we're producing, so let's get into it. All right, coming in at number 12 on our Locked On Senators draft rankings, we're going to Liga for a Finnish-born player, Finnish-raised player, but with Canadian roots. It's Brad Lambert.
Our first Finnish player we're covering this entire time, Ross. Like we were talking about it off air. That is wild to think of, that it took this long to get to a Finnish player.
Yes, we've got one more coming up. But when it comes to Brad Lambert, if we were having this conversation last year or the year before, and we're looking ahead 2-3 years down the road, kind of like it was last year with another Finn, with Atu Ratti, Brad Lambert was in serious consideration to be the first overall pick in this draft. We have him here at 12, but Pilsy, that is not locked in stone, written in stone. I combined two sayings there as well. But look at the range on this. Tony Ferrari has him at 5th on his list. Craig Button has him at 27. Chris Peters at 25, Elite Prospects, and Corey Prodman at 14, and Bob McKenzie at 11. Scott Wheeler has him at 8 on his list. So that's an average of 14.86. Pilsy, he was unbelievable at the World Juniors, but pretty lackluster everywhere else.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that has been a big struggle for Lambert. Is he started off, like you mentioned, if we're talking about him a year ago, we're thinking he's going to be a massive riser in the draft, and he's got good size. He's at 6'1", 183 pounds, so he's got the frame that you're looking for here. But the issue is he had so many raw skills up front from an early age, and that's apparent by looking at his elite prospects. Like he started playing in Liga in 2019, 2020. So he's had pro experience for a while here, but the issue is all these scouts were enamored by the raw skills and are like, imagine when he gets to his draft year, when he has 2 years of development, how much more he's going to grow. Yeah, he hasn't done that growing. It seems like he's been plateaued at the same spot as he was those years ago. And that's the boom that these scouts were hoping for, expecting, especially a guy playing pro so early, and it's seemingly comfortable playing pro that early. But unfortunately for Brad Lambert, it hasn't happened. And it hasn't happened so much that he was moved from JYP. He only played 24 games there to the Pelicans, hoping it would increase his offense. And it did.
He was moved back to the Pelicans. Like this guy's moved back.
He started with the Pelicans. That was his like childhood program, as they do overseas. They have guys early and they go through the program. But then he went to JYP, Ross, and now he's back to the Pelicans.
Yeah. Does that mean people want him or people don't?
And he even had another team mixed in there. I'm not familiar with this team at all, but HIFK.
Okay.
That's where he got his first taste of Liga, 4 games, 2 assists. And then he went to JYP, didn't work out there, and then he went back to the Pelicans this season. And the numbers are very underwhelming. For the listeners who aren't seeing the graphic on YouTube here, 49 games played total this year in Liga between JYP and the Pelicans. 4 goals, 6 assists. That's good for 10 points. That's actually, Ross, that's a decrease from last year where he had 46 games and 15 points. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't seem like he's growing. It seems like he's plateaued and maybe even decreasing a little bit here.
But then against his own age group was dominant at the World Juniors. He had half as many points all season long in 2 games at the World Juniors than he did in 49 games in Liga action. He's a centerman whose best attribute, Pilsy, is skating. He was voted the best straight line skater in this draft from Elite Prospects, and they're not even the highest on him. They have him at 14. So they see all these warts in his game, but still credit him as being the best straight line skater, the second best 4-way mobility, and the second best transition forward in this draft. He's the type of player who's a one-man breakout, and I love their shades of for this player. They've got him as Matthew Barzal in terms of his skating, his ability to cut on his edges. He's a great skater. It's just, can he piece the brain, feet, and hands all together at the same time.
And that's the thing. Anytime you have a skater as good as him, he's going to garner attention and you're going to say, wow, that's a skill that he holds above most, if not all, players in this draft class. And you got to respect that. And he's been able to skate this efficiently at a pro level. So that's huge. Scouts, they take that in their mind for sure. Now, Ross, when I was watching highlights of him, watching the EP scouting videos of him, what I kept noticing is he just keeps trying to force fancy plays, and he has it in his head like it's almost like savior complex, right? He's like, I'm so good, I have all these skills. Unfortunately, I can't rely on my teammates. They're just not where I'm at skill wise, so I'm just gonna do everything myself. And he forces things himself, and once in a while that's going to work, but then he backs himself into a corner and he tries to get out of the corner by himself, and his teammates are like, okay, should we just go for a change and let you handle this, or what's going on here? And he's constantly turning it over. And sure, those skills are going to get him far, but then in the pros, like, eventually teams are going to catch on to him. They start double teaming him. He can't escape everyone, and his teammates are just left frustrated, and it's not working out for him. And then what he does is next shift, he tries to force it even harder. He's like, okay, last time when I did it all on my own, it didn't work. I'm going to do even more on my own this time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fly in the pros. Like you mentioned, up against his own age group, he dominates, because you can do that in the junior levels and up against kids. But up against men, you're going to get figured out, you're going to get out-muscled, and you're going to get outsmarted. And that's what it seems like keeps happening to Lambert.
You know what Elite Prospect says here? He is less than the sum of his parts. You know, you always hear like, oh, he's more than the sum of his parts. The exact opposite for him. David St. Louis from Elite Prospect saying Lambert abuses his skill to the utmost degree.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, he's just overusing all that skill. Like, just chip it off the boards and chase it for once, or like pass it off to a forward that's trailing behind you. Like, he doesn't do these things. And I think, again, my knowledge on how they develop players overseas is very limited. So I don't know.
We'll get to your of.
Yeah, exactly. I need to do more scouting trips to Finland. That's very apparent here. But it just seems like they tossed him into the pro league too soon. Like, even though he was dominating, like the U20 in 2019-2020, mind you. So a couple years ago, he played in the U20 league. In 42 games, he put up 38 points. So they're like, obviously, this kid is above this level. Let's bump him up to the pros. But I think he could have used a little bit more time, even if he's dominating, even if maybe he's ready for the next step, just a little more time in his own age group so he can focus on other things and he doesn't have to rely on his massive skills like his skating to be effective in the pros. It would have helped round his game out a little more, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to get one more quote from Elite Prospects in. I love this one here. Quote, there's a lot of work ahead for Lambert and whichever team drafts him, for whatever team drafts him, but the payoff could be so rich that any team that passed on him from about third overall onwards could regret this decision for more than a decade.
So kind of like Barzal, right? Like teams that passed on Barzal, and that was the Bruins triple first rounder draft, right? Like they're probably looking at Barzal in a similar place. How do we let him drop so far?
Kyle Connor too.
I mean, yeah,
Thomas Chabot.
We could do a whole episode on how they ruined that draft. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but hey, the Sens got the spoils there, getting Chabot after Barzal and Connor were off the board. But when it comes to the style of play, think Matthew Barzal in terms of being able to use his feet and like all the skill is there. And with Barzal, we've seen up and down at the NHL level. There were a couple of years, this one included, where it just didn't click. And you're like, wait, but he has so much skill. How is he not being able to produce? And then with Lambert, I mean, it's a little more obvious why he hasn't been able to do it. And the whole thought was that he was going back to his childhood program so that he'd get more opportunity. Turned out to be the opposite. He got less ice time and less results. So just a tough couple of years. I was going to say tough year, but tough couple of years for Brad Lambert. He's probably so rattled the World Juniors got canceled because he lights up that tournament for longer than just 2 games. And we're probably looking his stock a little bit higher than it was right now. Well, I've got him at 1.5 stars though, Pillsy. Like I don't think this is a Senators type player at all. I just don't see a fit for it at all. And there's some people are like, no, they need dynamic skill, but no.
1.5? That's your lowest rank.
Lowest yet. Yeah. Especially at this range. Like there's just so many players that I'd rather. This is not, both these guys today are not Sens type players in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. And you mentioned how if he got to pop off at an international level more, what that would do for his stock. Look at Uri Slavkovsky. And I'm not
Right.
saying Slavkovsky didn't excel non-internationally, but I'm just saying look at the boost he got from popping off in a couple of tournaments that were international. It's massive.
Yeah.
So I am definitely higher on Lambert than you, 1.5 stars. That's very low. I think the thing is he the best prospect right now?
No.
God, no. But you don't always draft. I mean,
Fair.
no, you don't draft players based on where they are now. And I want the best player right now. You draft them based on their projection and where you see them going. And anytime you have a guy that can skate like Brad Lambert, I think it's going to take time. I think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be a disgruntled young prospect. He's going to be like, I'm so much better than this. I don't need to be doing these dump and chase drills or like simple things like that. And coaches are going to have a hard time reining him in. And maybe I don't know him as a person, obviously. So maybe I'm just spitballing here and making poor assumptions. But I feel like it's going to be tough to get him where you want him. But when he's there, there's just too much skill to pass up, and skating is such a big part of this league that I really value where his skills are here. So I got him at 3.5 stars. I
Okay.
don't think the Sens should take him at 7. If there was a trade down scenario and he's still there, maybe you try to take a big swing because Ross, he's a center, but this guy should be playing the wing. Like he doesn't play well off the puck. He just has straight line speed. He's not a great give and go type player. He's the kind of guy where the center gives it off to him in the neutral zone and he just blasts by everyone and takes it into the O-zone here. So I think he could be a good winger and put him on a line when he figures his game out with Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson. Holy crap, that's looking real good. So I give him 3.5 stars, but yes, I do see the red flags and I understand it. But this is your home run type swing. Either we're going to completely miss on it and look like an idiot, or it's going into the second deck.
Right. I just think that because of what happened last year, they gotta rein it in here and
But
take a
the
little bit
Tyler
more safe.
Boucher pick was not a home run swing.
No, but when you do that, I think you need this prospect, especially if and when Sanderson and Pinto are completely considered graduated this year from the prospect pool. That becomes thin. And does
Yes.
Brad Lamb he's just such a wild card. I need someone who I can guarantee throw in that top 3 if they do select at 7, even like the top 1 if Pinto and you need a better prospect than Ridley Gregg. And would Lambert jump ahead of him right now today? Maybe. I could see the argument for it,
Yeah.
but there's just so many red flags for me. And December 19th birthday, 2003, he's a right shot centerman who could play right wing at the next level.